How do you pace a gravel event when you have no chance of winning, or you probably think you're not going to win? What's up, everybody? This is Brendan. That's Tom. Which one of these ways, however they set it up, from EVOQ Bike. Today, we want to talk about, I think, a really important thing: pacing events when you're not really going to win. Your win might be going from 40th to 30th, or 30th to 20th, or trying to get on the podium. There's many different scenarios, but this is a really tough one because when there's people that are out of your league right now today at the event, how do you pace that? So, Tom, thanks for bringing this awesome topic to mind. I'm excited to talk about it. It's been something that I've been challenged with in going to some of these bigger gravel events, and sometimes the win might seem really far off. I'm curious, what brought this to mind for you, and kind of kick things off here?
Yeah, my initial thoughts are like being aware of like the adrenaline rush at the start of an event with all those people there. I mean, it's super exciting. It's just an exciting part of the start of the race. And just being aware of that to try to make sure that you don't go too hard right at the start. We've all done it. And just having awareness of that, I think, is an important part of the pacing strategy.
So I think that's awareness is a really good thing for people to think about. How do you recommend to people and to yourself, if you're going to an event where you don't think you're going to win, how do you place yourself? Like, what should my pacing be? What is too hard? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, I would say if you have some buddies that you know are around the same like level you are, then maybe try to stick with them or some other people you raced with in the past. I like to keep an eye on the power, honestly, at the start, just to make sure that you're not going like super anaerobic or VO2 max like right from the start and burning a bunch of matches with that adrenaline rush at the start. So
Mhm.
I think those are some things I would be kind of considering right from the start of the race.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, and this is good, just so no one knows, this is not scripted at all. These are just like off the cuff things we're gonna jab back and forth with. But what about the hypothesis that you're going to, and maybe this is not a hypothesis you agree with, you're going to get down the road so much farther with the fastest people. So how many matches do you burn early, and how deep do you go? I mean, let's try and get even more granular. I know you said don't go too anaerobic, but say there's, a 2 minute effort where everyone who's strong is going to go full gas. Do you burn that 2 minute match? Because then maybe you're on with a group that's much faster and you can tail gun with these 30 people as opposed to being automatically in the second group. How do you weigh that? And maybe this is a good time to bring up like the knowing the course definitely matters. Is there just one effort and then it's like 40 miles of flat, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, I think that's really the art of the balance of trying to figure this out.
Boom. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you. The art of this.
Yeah.
That is gold right there. That is a clip. There's an art to riding and racing and pacing. So thank you for, I had to just, that like hit me so hard. The art of this. Okay, go
For
ahead.
sure. 'Cause yeah, like if you start going like, okay, you say it's a 2 minute effort, like you mentioned. Well, how does that not turn into another 2 minute effort and then a 5 minute effort to try to keep staying out with the front group? And then it can be a slippery slope where you just went super hard for like the first 30 minutes and now you're in a hole that's going to be hard to come out of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely a tricky element to try to find like who are the people you're going to be riding with for this event, who is in your wheelhouse like your level, and trying to kind of figure that out really early on and figure out how much to invest, but not overdo it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about maybe doing a training ride with this type of sim? Would you ever recommend that? If especially and we could go to a million ways with this. If you have races before this big race, let's say, you can hopefully there are some within the realm of the same caliber. And I would say even try to use one of these B-level races to educate yourself on the wattage requirements for this bigger race. But let's say somebody, they live in the middle of nowhere. They have a family. They're going to one event. Would you have someone do maybe like a Saturday sim and sort of try to practice this so they kind of learn about themselves somewhat? Or what's your approach for that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think trying to familiarize yourself with like how it feels to go hard for like at the start of an event, what that will feel like and how your body recovers from that, if your body recovers from that. I think that's a great thing to practice. Another thing that I will mention for like this sort of event that I think super important that's related to like a sim is working on the nutrition, and super important at the start of the event. Oh man, like that's so easy to mess that up where you forget to eat for the first hour, hour and a half, and you're super behind. So in your sim and just thinking before the race, really focusing on that. I personally like to have a bike notification. I don't know if you do that, where you have like a notification that pops up on your bike computer to remind you to eat. I think that's super great for like events, just because again, there's so much going on. It's so easy to miss that, and like it's shocking how fast those pop up. Like when you're in it, like the time goes by so fast, and you just see like 3 notifications pop up, and it seems like it's 5 minutes, but it's been like an hour. So that really helps to stay on track there.
That's a great point. So I think one thing that I have altered for races like this, when I know it might just be, I don't want to use the word chaos because that sounds uncontrolled, but especially if it's a gravel race, I don't so much do this for a road event, but I know that it might be gnarly enough that even grabbing a bottle and drinking when I want to drink and fuel could be really tough. Going in my back pocket, maybe, I don't know. It's just, I think of gravel worlds. It's 6 a.m. It's dark for the first 45 minutes, if I remember correctly. It was, people kind of all over in this 2-lane road trying to get the right, just you're focused on riding and going really hard, that I might even shift and say do a bottle of 120 grams liquid carbs, which I don't normally like to go that route. I prefer like 70 grams liquid, maple syrup, or whatever else I'm going to eat that day. But for that specific race, I might change it up. So I want to practice that. And if you haven't done one of these races, you haven't had to kind of like shift a major thing like nutrition, saying, oh, I'm going to go like, I don't need to practice this. You're going to just find weird things like, ooh, this tastes really bad. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. Or, wow, I actually like this. Maybe I'll try this in another event. And so there's always a good thing to learn. Just avoid doing something new that sounds intuitive, like, oh, that's going to work on race day, because you could drop a bottle. This could happen. Like, oh, learn what the plan Bs will do. So these sims are very beneficial from an educating ourselves standpoint. One thing I want to push back on now on the blowing up aspect, because I think that people overestimate, is it overestimate or underestimate, what it takes to actually blow up. And I feel that some athletes think, oh, well, if I have this 3-minute, VO2 max effort, I'm going to be so gassed, I'm not going to be able to hang on. Or people don't want to go hard, and they underestimate how much farther down the road you actually will get with very fast people. So what I would ask people to do, and maybe this is something that you do in a different sim, or think about this in a workout that you do, when you have your next, let's say 3x12 or 3x15, something hard that has, maybe you're doing over-unders with a solid VO2 max effort, and you're trying to keep the unders up. So it's more like you taking a hard pull or surging, and then you're in a really fast pace line. By the third set, I'm getting pretty gassed. I don't know about anybody out there listening, but it's like, woof, this is really tough. But afterwards, I'm not dead. I'm not pedaling zone 1. I could still go and ride endurance. And now here's the thing. If you're like, no way, I'm totally crushed after that, then this is educational itself. You shouldn't be. A 3x15, you shouldn't be totally gassed. If so, you need to work on bringing up the duration of your intervals. But you can go and do 45 minutes of work and still ride at your endurance. So I think that go out, add these into a long ride. I have some athletes that initially they are so scared of doing intervals on a Saturday long ride. And I'm like, what do you think this bike race is going to be like? Like, do you think you're just going to go ride endurance? So I would push back, and I'm curious what your comment is that of, we can do a lot. And if we want to be riding at our strongest, we need to be able to go do that. So I think go and learn how you feel after each set of intervals. And then when you're in the race, maybe after 20 minutes, you're thinking, oh, this is actually just like that first interval. I know I have 2 more of these in me. Maybe you need a couple minutes to sit at the back of the group and like really, maybe you're hanging on a little bit more than you would want, but it's not killing you. Or maybe you're like, this is way too deep. I need to wait for the second group. Like, so I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think learning yourself and trying to build up confidence with your interval sessions and kind of thinking about the event day while doing those sessions, like you said, like I think can really help the mental side of things and build up that confidence going into an event. And again, like, yeah, doing like a sim or like local like race beforehand to really kind of test out different pacing strategies, see how it feels going hard from the gun, see how it feels easing into it and going harder the second half. So yeah, I think, yeah, definitely experimenting, building confidence and learning how your body responds to like a hard effort at the start.
Mm-hmm. Because even I think one thing that when I think back to the last time I actually truly did implode, gravel worlds, I'm trying to think, maybe it's not the last time. It is definitely, I mean, I'm saying I haven't gotten dropped. I mean, dead. I was on the side of the road, my first gravel worlds, because I went out way too hard, got in a 5-man break. It was, I'm gonna blank on, it was Colin Strickland's old teammate, Sheehan, and it was, oh my God, the super fast guy from CCB who's always in a break, and one of the guys from Norway and somebody else. And I was like, this is really early. But what happened was that first section was so crazy. I took off and waited until people bridged up. I was hoping way more people would bridge up, but it ended up being 5 of us. Long story short, we had about 50 minutes. And I hesitate to say, I hate to say at VO2 max because it was more surgy. But if you go and you bucket out your watts from 105 to 125%, we had just under an hour in the first 4.5 hours of that race in that zone. And then at hour 6, I died. And when I say die, I was on the side of the road to take a pee. I was hanging over my bike and I was like, I'm so effed right now. I bring this all up and that it is funny. I ended up coming in 25th still. That is how far down the road you can get in a race like Gravel Worlds. I mean, I was out in the middle of nowhere. I thought people would be passing me. Like, I saw nobody. Somebody can check the results. Was it 25th? It was top 50 for sure. Because there's actually a group. No, yeah, because I got called by a group of about 12 people and then they dropped me. And so I think I went from 10th to like 25th. So anyways, long story short, it's the art, it's the balance. You got to figure it out and you might have a day where you implode. And so what did I do the next year? I said, you know what? The race isn't in that first 20 miles. I need to wait. And the race started to blow up about 45 or 60 miles in. And then there was a second time it blew up at an aid station. And then eventually I came in 5th. So just taking that learning and applying to the next year. So any closing thoughts on pacing a gravel event, or what do we miss if you're not going to win? Because maybe my comments went more towards winning. So maybe I got us off, but that's how I think about it. But what else do we miss then?
Yeah, one other thing that I was thinking about is it might be pretty obvious, but a lot of like big events now have like great videos online kind of covering the course. So especially if you haven't done the event yet and you're not sure the different sections, like if there's like a single track section or technical section, having an idea of what to expect up the road can help you figure out your pacing strategy to make sure you have enough energy for those different sections.
Mm-hmm.
The content online now really helps like educate yourself before and really be able to come up with a good plan going into the event.
So I don't know the answer to this and I feel foolish, but I'll be honest. Best bike split, is that usable for something like this? Or is that more just for like a hill climb time trial scenario?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure on
Hey
that.
guys, post in the comments. Help us learn more about this as well. What else do we miss, Tom?
I think that was great.
Awesome. Guys, good luck with your training. If you need help with coaching, hit up Tom at EVOQ.bike, Brendan at EVOQ.bike. Definitely check out the blog for a ton of free training tips and more of the videos. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
See ya.